Wait, hold on.
We'll leave the chat about the TSA stuff till the after show.
Yeah.
So we won't let the main people know about that.
Yeah, I'm still sore.
Yeah. Right, should we go live?
No, Scott.
Oh, it seemed to already be.
Oh no.
Hey, it's a bit of a slow start today, really. It's exciting actually, because it's. I don't know about Jamie, but I've certainly been kind of experiencing quite a bit of FOMO over the last 3 weeks.
FOMO, yeah.
People flying out to the States, people in the States kind of having adventures, and then kind of culminating.
And then Rasmus arrived, and
the second wave of the Viking invasion. You mean? And then kind of this amazing last weekend.
Yeah, it was a bit damp in the middle, though.
Yeah, I did not have FOMO about that. Having had floods, we've got some. The end of our road, not all of it, but at the end of my kind of sort of street, is going to be closed off from a week tomorrow for 5 weeks.
No!
For
Goodness.
new kind of drainage being put in for a flood prevention program. Yay!
Now,
So
is
that's
it common that it would take more than the expected 5 weeks? Because we were told ours was going to be like 6 to 8 weeks, and it turned into a year and a half.
From what I can gather, there's already a pipe under the road. There's already a pipe under the road, which is about an 18-inch pipe underneath the road.
Okay.
From what I can understand, there's another 18-inch pipe. Yeah, another 18-inch pipe going under the road alongside it, and they're also, from what I can gather, there's a garden kind of alongside the kind of culvert which is causing the problem. They need to straighten out the culvert a bit, so they're going to dig a chunk of that garden out, not quite into ours because it's very close to ours. Chunk the garden out, put another pipe in, and then cover that back over. So
why don't they just drill a few holes to let the water drain through?
Yeah, or clean out the culvert higher up where people have built into it. Yeah,
silly people.
That one. Yeah, but
money.
Yeah, so no FOMO
for
the flooding. Yeah, no FOMO for the flooding, but serious FOMO for the rest of it.
Seeing people, sort of wading around, still trying to move lumps of hot steel to anvils and things, while splashing water everywhere is.
Yeah. I mean, that got very interesting, especially when we actually had like this wall of rain. Like it was drizzling, and then just a lot of it came out all at once, and you could almost see it like just come as waterfall off the tents and into all the fire pots.
Ooh.
Yeah, and I have to really give creds to Bob and Ard and the fire pots he brought, because none of them cracked. They were all going hot, and none of them cracked, which is really impressive.
Flooding our makers out. FOMO. The Catskills definition of FOMO.
Yeah. Flooding. Yeah, I mean, it was a serious bonding experience that we'll have memories of this forever.
A trial by adversity, I suppose.
Yeah. It was a bit interesting, though, to sort of be walking around the blacksmith tent and have 5 centimeters, I think, of standing water in and around all of the anvils and things.
Makes quenching easier.
I did see a lot of people who was like, I have a hot bit of something, I need to cool it off, and the bucket is over there. Let me just drop it for a second. And hopefully I'll find it.
Yeah, that was the trick.
Heated up all of the steel and put it on the floor, then all the water would have evaporated and you'd have been dry again.
I think there's a bit more water than that.
Yeah, in fact, it didn't just flood the tents outside, it also flooded the pavilion where the beer was, which was more of a concern for most of us. Was like, what, we're gonna have to stand on picnic tables for karaoke.
Yeah.
Yep.
It does seem like the perfect thing to happen to a massive group of makers surrounded by materials and tools and then one problem to solve for everyone. This
Right.
is like the perfect chance to all collaborate.
Or
At
just get drunk.
what point did it hit? Was it Saturday afternoon, wasn't it? Saturday
Yeah.
afternoon?
All of Saturday basically it was raining, but worst in the evening kind of thing, just afternoon. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it started like mist raining on Friday, so it was a pretty steady mist rain when we all went to bed, and then I woke up in the morning. It was still like through the night there was a pretty good downpour at different parts. Like Dave and Ras, I don't know if you guys woke up in the middle of the night, but I woke up to like just a deluge and realizing that the bathrooms were not just like 10 feet away. I had to walk across the property, which was interesting. Like sitting there waiting for it to like calm down a little bit so I wasn't soaked getting back into the tent.
How many of you were camping?
Mm-hmm.
Raz, you were camping, weren't you?
Yeah.
Dave
I was not camping. No.
He was glamping.
I'm fancy.
I was actually camped down by the river, and I realized after a few hours that rains and rivers do things together. They tend to get bigger, and I think the river, the height of the river increased by nearly 0.5 meter.
Whoa!
Yeah, so it used to be maybe 5 meters away from my tent, and it got to 1.5 meters, 2 meters.
Oh,
yeah. But that was Tim who gave me a lift from Tony's place and to Maker Camp last year. I camped the exact same spot as last year, and so did basically he. So while we were having dinner, I think it was, he just texted me and was like, I think that river is approaching your tent. And we walked out and was like looking at it, and I was like, well, the worst of it has stopped, so fingers crossed this is the max.
Yes. Yeah.
I can swim if I wake up in the middle of the night. I'm on an airbed. I'll float away. It's fine.
Right.
None of those things. It's very difficult to swim inside of a sleeping bag.
What's your experience?
Doing the worm doesn't work underwater, sadly.
Oh my goodness.
It was pretty intense.
Yeah, but luckily, like that was the worst of it. And I came back an hour later, and it's like, I think it's gone down a tiny bit. And then 2 hours after that, again, it's like, oh, now it's definitely fallen by 10 centimeters or something. So it's like, just slight bit of excitement in the middle.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a sentence out of context. Never mind.
Oh my!
Wasn't even me this time.
No, that's a rare bit of insight and reflection. And I'll shut up now.
It sounded like fun, if nothing else.
It really was. It really was, and I was the only one out of the three of us that didn't have an activity that I was like tied to on the regular, so I was able to kind of walk around and get to do the activities. So it was definitely a lot of, it was my first maker camp. So I wanted to kind of leave it to just enjoying the event. I was supposed to do a throwing session on Saturday, but because the water and the electrical doesn't really work so well, they had to shut the power off to most of the tents, including the pottery tent. So I had to wait until Sunday to do a demo. But for the most part, I got to do everything from metalsmithing to silversmithing, and I got to sew a bag with Patty. And what else did I get to do? I got to do some woodworking, a little bit of work on the shave horse. It was fun. Never done that before.
Excellent.
I mean, for a first time Heidi going today, did it meet your kind of expectations, having seen all the social medias from the last few years?
I think it exceeded, because in my head, I guess I thought that we were just going to be watching people like Dave prints and Rasmus do his thing in the forge and not actually get hands-on. But all of the makers that were there and running the tents were super generous with time and materials, and it just like even the quality of what we were doing felt like it was more than just, oh, here's like some scraps that I had in my shop that I brought. It was more like, hey, you're actually going to design something and bring it to life and to fruition from, you know, what I have here, and I'll give you the steps. Dave, with what you were doing with the carving, the stamps and everything for the printing and all of that stuff, it just was like so much more than I could have thought. And I really liked what they did for the forge area, right? So they started almost like a progressive dinner. Have you ever gone to one of those where it's like you go from one location and eat like the first part of the meal, and then you go to another location and eat another part of the meal, and so on and so forth. So you're traveling to like all these different stops to experience the different things. It was like that. So they were, I think it was just an axe. So you started off, you know, picking out your materials and you know, getting things cut to size, and then you go through the process of actually building it out, and at the end you have like an axe, which was pretty friggin' cool to me. Like I really wish that I got in on that early enough, but I got to like see everybody else do them. It was pretty cool.
So is it all like things that you just like book the things and pay for them, or was it kind of a free-for-all, people, you know, offering it up as have a go sessions for free, or what's the kind of the setup there?
All of the things that I participated in were free. It was just, for most of the tents, it was first come, first serve. In the case of Patty's tent, like Friday and Saturday, she had signups. So you would like put your name for that hour at your sewing machine, because she only had, I think, like 9 machines. But I think, Dave, I'm not sure how you handled that, or like how you made the decision on how that would work for you.
I didn't want to do any organization, so I just basically put all the materials on a table, and people wandered by, and then if someone wanted to sit down and try it, and there was still room for them to sit, they could get started. So, and it's, you know, there's a lot less equipment required. You know, it's just you know, just the carving tools and the, you know, the material to make the stamp. So it's a lot easier to get started than the, you know, sewing machine, or you need a forge or a, you know, saw or something.
So Dave, you ran it last year as well, didn't you?
Yes.
Last year was your first year running a sort of station.
That's correct. Yeah. So yeah, the first year, you know, was a lot smaller. You know, I pretty much did all the activities, and then the second time, it didn't expand that much. You know, because they had the break there for a year, and so after that, I was like, well, I've done all the stuff. What can I do if I come back? What am I going to do? So, and you know, the whole original concept of the camp was to share like what you know. So I figured that setting up a thing to do block printing was, you know, a really approachable activity, and, you know, something that I could easily do. So I just jumped in and offered that last year, and it was popular. People really enjoyed it, so I did it again.
Yeah, it seemed like it was always full too. Like people were really enjoying it.
Yeah, so we had scheduled times, but pretty much once I started doing it, people kept coming, and then, you know, we didn't, you know, if someone was still there, more people came in, we didn't really take breaks. So it's usually, you know, between 4 and 6 hours there, you know, from the start until dinner time.
It's heavy going, that.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot less work than the forge, which they usually get started a little bit earlier, and they keep going until, you know, all day. And it's obviously a little bit more effort for the, you know, the instructors to do that than to, you know,
it's not. Printing. It's just grunting and pointing.
He's not
That's
wrong.
why you didn't get invited to teach.
You might be onto something there. But yeah, no, I mean the guys running the forging thing, like they were at it all day and they shut down only for midnight, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Which is
Noisy
kind of amazing.
bastards.
Yeah. No, I think that's more of a safety thing with amount of alcohol people consumed.
I was wondering
Yep.
whether it was just out of politeness for the people who were trying to sleep at that time.
Oh hell no! That was no
No.
politeness for sleeping people.
They
The
were running that karaoke pretty loud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You-
That was louder than the
You had
forge for a
to
while.
drink yourself to sleep, basically.
Well, last year I actually had to sleep with my isotunes in, but I think because of the rain, the river was loud enough, though, so that was
Oh.
drowning people out.
Nice.
I mean, plus minus amount of jet lag and all of that, but yeah, that worked.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the rain, I'm guessing, was really soothing and just perfect for sending you to sleep.
Oh yeah, I really liked it. The tricky thing is just to be floating away at sleep, because that can be dangerous, especially downriver.
Yes, differentiating between the sound of rain on the tent and the sound of the river approaching the tent.
Yes.
Yep.
It depends partly on the nature of the ground and the type of tent you got. I mean, I've camped in pouring rain and kind of woken up kind of semi-submerged in mud, hardly able to move, but yeah, actually kind of constrained by a sleeping bag, sleeping mat, and the ground sheet, which is perfectly sewn in. So yeah, the water was perfectly dry, just semi-submerged in a pool of mud.
Yeah, I've also done that. Sort of, for some reason, the most comfortable spot in the rain is like a divot. And you sleep in this big, it's basically like a big watertight sleeping bag, and then you have the sleeping bag and your backpack inside of that. It's something developed for the Norwegian Army ages ago, and of course I'm crazy and I bought
Bivy
one.
bag.
It was,
Yeah,
something.
Gore-Tex, or something like it. Yeah.
Yes. So I literally woke up and felt like this was nice, and I could hear the rain outside. I was sleeping and all of that, and then I opened up the thing, and I was like, oh, that's actually, I'm in the middle of a puddle now. There's water all around me, and my head is just on the bank, sort of a little bit upwards out of it.
So you need my sleeping bag with the full sleep suit thing.
But
So you just
is it
unzip the feet,
watertight?
put the boots on, and walk off.
Oh yeah.
Right. There you go.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's ever done a bivy bag that does that as well. Yeah, the walk-off sleeping bag's been done in a few different variations. I think the German army had one for a while.
Yeah.
But the bivy bag, I do like a bivy bag. I do like kind of sleeping without a tent, just in a bivy bag and a sleeping bag. But that's probably a discussion for another episode, I think, rather than that. Yes.
Yeah, maybe. Then again,
weird
I
camping
like
song.
camping.
So does the activity start on the Friday?
Yeah.
Or just so it's kind of things start going on Friday, sort of afternoon,
Yeah,
lunch, morning.
Friday from 2:00, I think it was.
Well, it might have been earlier. I think 11 a.m. was the scheduled start time for some things.
Oh, okay, cool. I just
Yeah.
know that the Forges was scheduled to arrive around noonish.
Yeah, they had they didn't have so much of an opening ceremony kind of thing. It was just kind of like a bunch of people were already there the night before.
Yeah.
So people just kind of started digging in, when they woke up in the morning. But I liked that they did have a Excel schedule, so you could see like what was happening in each tent.
Wait, there was a schedule?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, interesting.
Big surprise there, mister.
Yeah.
Was it
And you could download it to your phone. So like if you're at the event and you want to see like, what time is the leather crafting starting? Like what time do I need to like be from over at this tent to over there? And then you could see who was hosting those. So if there was a specific maker that you wanted to learn from, maybe you weren't so interested in the craft, but you were interested in meeting that maker and learning something from them, you could search by that in the sheet too, which was kind of cool. There were things going on through the day, like demos of different equipment. like CNC machines, and IsoTunes was there. You could check out all of their products. There was, I didn't make it over to like the welding tent, Lincoln's area, but they had a full day of demos and things there where you could get hands-on practice on, welding cubes and those kind of things. But
Welding
it was
and
all on a
flooding
schedule.
sounds like a dangerous combination to me.
What's that?
Welding and flooding.
Oh,
Sounds like a
that's why they
dangerous
cut the
combination.
power.
Yeah.
No, the welding area actually stayed dry. They're actually on a concrete pad,
Oh,
and
nice.
they luckily did not.
Oh, that's good.
The coffee tent
yeah.
did not.
No, they were right in the middle of the field. That was very disappointing. The coffee
Mhm.
tent didn't make it the whole day.
Yeah, it was a bummer. Paul Jackman was there. He was doing demos and had to stop. He was doing like some power carving demos and that kind of thing. And he couldn't do it, so he went up top to like do some scroll saw work to prep for the next day. So he was just kind of like, oh, guess I'm gonna go do this thing over here with this machine I wasn't planning on using.
Right, there was definitely a lot of that.
Yeah. I mean, for some of the people that were like running classes and things, they probably felt like a little bit of a reprieve, right? But
yep. Yeah, I mean, they had a break, and it was interesting because the forges specifically, they were rained out most of the day, but after dinner, it pretty much stopped raining, and they started right back up, and they were ready to go, and make sure people got an opportunity to try that. They didn't, they wanted to make sure to keep going. So.
Yeah.
Were there good kind of provision to ensure that demonstrators and tutors got the chance to go and do things as well?
I think for the most part,
you said you were kind of scheduled for a certain time, but you kept going while people were still turning up. But did you get a chance to go and try things yourself?
A little bit, and and again, that's kind of, it ends up being self-imposed. But I was able to get to do a couple of different things, and if I managed my schedule a little bit better, I definitely could have done more. But it's so difficult. I can't even imagine. I don't know if anyone counted up all the different activities and demonstrations there were, but there were dozens. So it would have been very difficult to see everything, even if you planned out your schedule perfectly. So
yeah, there was a lot of things going on at the same time. I think they kind of tried to put things in some kind of rotation so that the most stereotypical interest wouldn't conflict so much.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But I mean, most of the people I talked to that was demonstrating, they were sort of like, yeah, I have one thing each day. And the rest of the day, they are off and doing things, but they were not running a booth. They were just coming in to demonstrate. But then you have like people like Dave and people who did the forging and all that. Like they were at their thing all day long. And the same goes for the people who did the food and the barbecue. Like they were cooking and preparing things the entire weekend.
Mm-hmm. And then let's not forget Mark Adams, the photographer.
Oh yeah, no, by all means, he is.
Wow.
Wicked. Yeah. I mean,
he was
started.
Set up. Yeah.
He started when he arrived. He didn't do anything but take his truck out, set up the booth, and start taking pictures of people. And he was the last one to take things down on Monday morning.
That's right. Yeah, everybody else is pretty much packed up on Sunday.
Yeah.
And there'd been a lot, but not everybody leaves Sunday night. Some people don't travel until Monday, and everybody.
Yeah.
He was still set up to get. Anybody was still there. They could get their picture even on Monday morning. And yeah.
That's phenomenal. And the pictures he takes, just amazing. Especially some of the group pictures. I think that was kind of, for me, kind of some of the FOMO was more about seeing some of the groups of people I knew, kind of meeting other people and having their photograph taken by Mark, because they've just been plastered across Instagram. More so perhaps than seeing some of the demonstrations and some of the activities.
I didn't see anything on purpose. I accidentally ended up watching Mareka Mamasi doing a chef knife handle demo on the belt sander at Broadback. I did that for an hour because I was supposed to go over there and sharpen my knives, and it's like, ooh, he's doing things. That's interesting. And then watching him, and it's like, even into time he was demonstrating something and talking and explaining things and stopping and handing the knife around and all of it, he is probably faster at that thing than I would be solely focusing on it.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. But that's kind of what you get when you're like only really focusing on one skill and mastering that.
Yeah, I mean, and truly he has, hasn't he? I mean, he's got that. There's a style about it, isn't there? I mean, he's just got his style nailed down.
And he has a system for how to get it nice, quickly, and accurate. So when you have that, then you sort of know what to look for. You can ignore like when this line and this line is parallel, and when you have like this amount of distance up here, like that's good. Then you move on to the next step, and you're just checking this bit and this bit versus that thing. And if that's good, you move on to the next bit, instead of continuously having to turn the whole piece around and thinking about it and feeling it for half an hour and so on and so forth. So,
knowing the rules, knowing the process, and then knowing what can be bent or broken. So a lot of merit in that kind of thing. It's, like you say, it's very nice to watch someone who's got that kind of process down, especially if it's something that you do as well, to then just kind of see that refinement, especially I think because we're all so diverse in our interests. It's very rare for one of us to properly hone in on just one thing and, hammer it to its extinction kind of thing.
Yeah. Oh, another thing I actually saw, also kind of accidentally, was a stonemason splitting rocks.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, that was also really fun.
Clip of that on Instagram.
Yeah, I think I shared a little something there. And that's also kind of magical because, like, he uses a drill, he drills some holes, and then he puts in the wedges and the things, and he just goes tap, 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 and nothing happens. And then it goes, and it's in two pieces. And I was like, what? There's a little bit of a crack before it goes, but then it pops. And yeah, that's wicked, that sound.
And that technique is thousands of years old.
Yeah,
right.
I think it's one of those where when you see something like that and you go, hang on, that's a metal wedge that I can make, and I've got a drill. This isn't immediately now accessible. And then you try it and you go, this is really difficult.
Yeah. I mean, he was talking about sort of how you need to watch the rock and what kind of rocks you need to pay attention to and whatnot. And when you have something like granite and marble, it's homogeneous. So you can put whatever scoring lines in whatever direction you want, and it will crack along that, basically. But then you have sedimentary stuff, I think.
Yeah.
Where you have more of layer lines. So you need to pay attention to what direction you're doing things in relation to that, which behaves suddenly kind of like grain in wood, in stone. And that's
very much so. If you've got metamorphic rock that has come from sedimentary, so where you get something like slate, if you ever get a chance, go and see some of the sort of slate mine museums up in North Wales, and they are literally cutting sheets of slate that are 4 or 5 millimeters, 1/8 of an inch, 3/8 of an inch, and they're big sheets, and they're just perfectly flat, and it's just knowing exactly where to tap with a hammer and chisel. And they're not even particularly sharp chisels.
No,
but it's just kind of knowing, and they don't really whack it. It's just a couple of little taps in the right place, and away it shears.
It's the same kind of witchcraft as when you see people with the big massive sheets of glass, and then they just kind of go like and then just drop it, and then it's just perfectly formed thing that comes out.
Yeah,
absolute witchcraft.
Yeah, beyond the realms of mere mortals.
Yeah,
but Heidi, did you get a chance to see anything specific, or?
I mean, I saw so much.
I mean, you did a few things, but like, did you see something that to that vein?
Well, I was really impressed with the stonemason. I did go over and I saw him let a 2-year-old.
I already said that. Pick something else.
I know, but I saw a 2-year-old do it, and I was like,
"Oh wow,
what?
That's great."
He just showed him how to hit the little
Shut up.
thing to make it work. and he was like,
That's great.
Yay. I would say, well, I spend a lot of time in the forge watching everybody work, and that's always impressive to me, because it's something that I don't dabble all that much in, but it feels so relatable to clay work. There was a raku ceramicist there, so it's like he doesn't always do raku, and actually he said he hadn't done it in probably like 8 years. So he said it felt like riding a bike, right? So I got to spend some time with him a little bit, kind of talking about material and talking about like this new age of ceramics, of being not more accessible, but more popularized because of social media. And there's a bit of a resurgence, not a raccoon ceramicist. He's not a raccoon. He's not a trash panda. It's raku, R-A-K-U. It's so just generally, it's a technique where you take a bisque fired piece, so it's been initially fired one time, and you take it and you put it in heat again until it usually you put something on the surface, like some type of glaze or treatment, and then you're watching from it sounds really silly, but it's a glory hole basically at the top of the kiln to see what's happening inside. And as the glaze starts to boil, you start to see it kind of bubble up, right? But as soon as it goes soft, placid on the surface, and it looks like a molten river, you take it out with I've seen people use like blacksmithing tongs or raku tongs or whatever. You take it directly out of that heat and you put it into combustibles. What he had there was paper and sawdust in a can. So you put it in that can and then you put some over top of it to create that atmosphere, and then you close the lid. And what's happening when you're closing the lid is all of the oxygen is gone. So it puts out the fire, but the heat's still there. So everything's still creating that environment where the carbons just suck to the surface of what it doesn't have a glaze. So it's turning the surface of the non-glazed areas pitch black. So it's just like absorbing that right into the clay body itself. Everywhere there's a glaze, it's getting an atmospheric change. So you might have a oxidation or coloration difference when it pulls out. Once you leave it in there for a few minutes, take the lid off, take the piece out, and he was quenching it. So he was taking it right out and putting it directly into a bucket of water.
Wow.
Nice. Is that what creates like the crackly outside ones?
No, air does that. So some of the glazes that he was using are like a crackle glaze. And if you blow on the surface before you put it into the combustible, so you take it directly out of the kiln, blow, 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 put it into the combustibles, you're creating areas where the glaze is curing or cooling faster than the surface of the clay. And it's shrinking at a different rate. So that's where you get all the cracks. And once it goes into the combustibles, it fills the cracks with the black soot from the carbon burn off. So then when you take it out, you can either, like when we do it here, typically we'll just set it off to the side and let it air cool. There's less risk of explosion when you do that.
Of course.
Right. So it's like, it's a pretty risky process for your piece, and it can explode at any point. Like it can have too much moisture in it because you like when you put the glaze on, you didn't let it dry enough before you put it in the kiln, and you brought it up to heat really quickly, and it can't handle the temperature change. Or it can happen when you're taking the piece out and you drop it. Or it can happen when you're taking the piece out, you're putting it into the combustibles and you knock the side of the piece off of the can. or it can happen when you're the way that like this guy was doing. He was quenching it in cold water, and
that's got to be the perfect application for experimenting with something risky like that with a group of makers who, you know, if it exploded right in front of them, they'd all just be cheering. It's like,
Yeah.
seen it fail,
Right.
yeah.
One more time,
Experiment
one
in
more
the
time.
real.
It was pretty great. He had like 2 or 3 different glazes that he was playing with. One is called Copper Penny. So when it goes in, it just kind of looks real dull when it goes into the kiln. But once it goes through the entire process, you get all of these like crazy treatments on the outside that looks like a copper penny, where it's like browns and greens and blues and purples, depending on the environment, how well the environment was set. So if you put the piece too close to the edge of the can, you're not going to get as much of an atmospheric result. But if you get it in there where it's not, where it's able to like get some of that leftover oxygen and everything on the surface, you get some really cool techniques and looking pieces.
Nice.
It's a friggin' amazing process, and I wish I could do more of it. But
I'd love to see the difference in those, the resulting versions of those from the slightly damp Saturday to the slightly drier Sunday, to see the a side-by-side comparison of the atmospheric impact.
This piece is whole. This one exploded.
Right.
What he was getting was really interesting with the white glaze that he had. On Friday and most of Saturday, it was super gray. It was coming out like really just kind of muddy looking. And then I'm not sure if there was like more rain got mixed into the, like, to contaminate the glaze in the bucket or what, but by the end of the time he was starting to get a brighter white. So it was really interesting. And he was also like experimenting with, instead of dunking the pieces, he was putting them off to the side and letting the rain come down and seeing like, did raindrops create different textures on the surface. But I spent way too much time there knowing what he was doing. Like I should have been seeing things that I didn't know about, but it's like one of those, it's magic.
Professional interest in potentially a huge number of happy accidents.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It does very much sound like one of those sort of techniques, processes where just a small unexpected change results in something that goes, oh wow, I'm going to do this for the next 5 years because this is really exciting.
Yeah.
How do I recreate almost flooding?
I've done it a few times, and every time I've done something slightly different, experimental, and have had it. I mean, I'll put like 15 pieces in, and I may only get one piece that I'm like, oh, yes. But that's just enough for all the work that it takes, like, to get the kiln ready. It's a couple of hours to get it up to temperature, and then to have the pieces ready and all of that. It's like several days of work to be prepared to do a 4-hour session. And then the payoff is like that one piece that just absolutely surprises you. And he said by the end he finally got like the one piece that he was trying to get from the glazes that he brought. So he was pretty pleased at that point.
And that was by the end of Sunday.
Yeah, by the end of Sunday.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah. And I think he was using propane to heat his kiln.
Yeah, he had a propane kiln.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of makes sense.
That's the Raku kiln I have, is a propane.
Oh.
Okay.
And do you do that all by eye, or do you have some kind of temperature gauge or something?
I have a thermocouple that I can use to like see, am I at the temperature? But really, like, talking to him and talking to some of my teachers, like, the best way of knowing that it's ready to come out is the visual, because you could be like a half a degree different and you're too far gone or you're too early. So that visual being able to see it. I'm sure, like with working with molten metal, you have that too. Like it starts sparking. You know, we're burning the material.
The funny thing about, especially if you're forge welding mild steel in a coal forge, like it's a full sensory experience to notice when it's ready. Because if you have your back to it, like you can smell the carbon being released and you can hear the crackling of it.
Oh wow!
Yeah, but also when you're standing there looking at it, like you can see the surface, the changes in that happening, and like how it starts to bubble, how you start to get that bit of carbon coming out of the steel itself. So it's a really fascinating thing to see all of that, but also one of those learned habits of probably with the same with the glazing, like you need to learn how to spot that difference in like now it's ready, now it's the right temperature.
Yeah,
and
you can't be looking at your phone.
No, I mean, and that's something. I mean, not to go too far deep into the technicalities of blacksmithing, but like that's one of the things of like you need to learn how to be patient because then everything goes quicker.
Yeah.
Because if you're able to stand there and just look at the piece and just wait for it to get to the right temperature and you get it at the exact moment, you don't fuck it up. You get it on the first try.
Yeah.
Right.
But if you are too distracted.
Blacksmithing on the coal, I found that looking at Steve's face, because I'd have my back to the forge talking to Steve, and then I'd see his face change and then hear the sparks and go, oh shit, I burnt it.
Yeah. Yeah. I have done
that's
that
one
too.
way to do it.
And we always blame Steve.
Yeah.
Yes, always Steve.
For sure.
How about you, Dave?
Yeah.
What was the question?
What did you see? What did you apart from manning a stand for what sounds like a considerable amount of time, and judging from the kind of what I saw on Instagram, did you get to see other things, the things that caught your eye?
Sure. So one of the things they had was these guys came last year, and then they came back to demonstrate. They did a flint napping, so they were making flint arrowheads, which is really interesting to think about because it's basically the same thing as the stone cutting, but just obviously much smaller. And the tools they're using, they don't have a drill. They're not using, they're looking for microscopic, cracks in the material, and it doesn't crack in a uniform manner. You're not going to get a rectangle out of it. That was really, really interesting to do. Since and what was
it's
really
nice
interesting,
that these traditional crafts that have been around for thousands of years are being maintained. I think it's important. I think.
Oh, certainly. But I saw a lot of kids doing it who are way better than me at it. And I thought it was very difficult. And the kids are just like, this is, so I was really impressed with that. And that, I don't know, Rasmus, if you noticed at all, it seemed like last year, I'm pretty sure there was definitely like more kids there than I've seen in previous years. And this year it seemed like it increased again. So, which is really amazing to see.
Yeah, I felt like there was actually a lot of whole families who came and spent the weekend.
Yeah,
and like
I saw that too.
I also felt like I saw a lot of just parents just basically just let their kids loose and just let them run around because like it's kind of a contained area, they can't get away.
Feral children near blacksmiths and stuff.
Yeah.
It was really
cool.
cool.
Feral blacksmiths near children.
Right.
Here's a hammer.
Yeah.
Here's some hot metal.
Right.
Well, I mean, Steve does he'll occasionally do the blacksmithing with plasticine, doesn't he?
Yes.
Because that's the kind of the crossover.
Well, we didn't have plasticine, but we did have a Trevor, and Trevor is excellent with kids. So whenever there was someone smaller size that wanted to do a bit of forging, he was like, Trevor, this one is yours. Have fun.
He's just excellent with all people, Trevor.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That's true. Yep. And he uses the same technique. It doesn't matter if you're 50 or if you're, 5.
No, but there is something to the way he communicates with kids that I feel not a lot of other people are able to do.
That's for sure.
Or maybe it's just the way that he talks to adults the same way he talks to kids, and that works really well.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. It works for everybody. He does it exactly the same.
In fairness, we are just kids with beards still.
Yeah,
Just a phenomenal human being.
Yeah,
really.
more of us should be like Trevor for sure. I think that would solve a lot of problems. But
Who is this Trevor? Which Trevor?
He goes by Dusty Squeak on the
Yeah,
Instas.
Trevor Higgins, I think, isn't it? Yeah.
It's correct.
Not familiar.
Oh,
You
he's
should have
a
him
good
on.
follow.
You should have him on.
Often
Yeah,
found
you should interview him.
he's often found in Laura's chats on a Sunday afternoon.
correct. Yep, that's where I met him, and before Maker Camp even, and he's even cooler in person.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely.
Ben and I've had the opportunity to hang out with him several times because he used to come up to the Lincoln Electric event in Cleveland.
Okay.
So we've always really enjoyed spending time with him.
Yeah.
So this year, the first year, just sort of changing tack slightly. Over the last couple of years, we've kind of got used to seeing kind of a huge construction of a dinosaur or a rabbit. Something, it's
Jackalope, not a rabbit, a jackalope.
Spends best part of a week, if not more, kind of constructed and then kind of burns down
Right.
over a few hours. Now that didn't happen this year, did they? But but that was so they could bring in more tents, I believe.
I think it was twofold, as far as I understood the people I talked to about it. One was the organization and the time commitment for building that burn they had, but also the fact that it was taking up a lot of space. Basically the entire center of the field was dedicated to this burn because you couldn't really put up a tent too close to it when it was burning.
Yeah.
Which means that I think they nearly doubled the amount of exhibitors that was there this year. Maybe not fully doubled, but it felt like that because it was a lot more.
Yeah, for sure.
I didn't miss it.
Right.
No, that's the thing. That's also the thing. Like I didn't miss it either. It was just like it was really cool that they did it earlier, but at the same time, it's also so nice to have more things to go and see and more people to talk to and more people to meet. And it was a spectacle, but at the same time, it was at the end of the Sunday when a lot of people had already left anyway.
Right.
So, yeah, we were sort of the special gang who got to see the big thing burn, but then again, it was supposed to be for everyone. So having more tents kind of feels like it fits the spirit of Maker Camp a bit better. At least that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I agree. And they replaced it with the world's loudest fireworks.
Oh, okay. So that's not America normal. Okay, that's good to know because that was fucking loud.
They were the loudest fireworks I've ever experienced.
Jesus,
for sure.
Yeah.
I'm so sad that I missed that part. I left on Sunday. My tent was in the back of the truck, and it didn't withstand the soaking rain. So I ended up staying with Marielle and Laura at their Airbnb on Saturday night. When I came back, it was just a complete, like the whole truck bed was full of water. So there wasn't like I wasn't going to attempt to stay another night. It was like 3:30 in the afternoon and it started to rain again. And I was like, I think I'm good.
Okay.
I think I'm going to try and get home tonight. I think I'm done with this. But I had planned on staying Sunday into Monday. But the only thing that I really like, I missed seeing the closing ceremonies, but I wanted to see the provisioning tent. Did you guys see that at all? Where they were like teaching about how to prep leather and how to do like primitive stuff.
Cool.
I didn't know that was going on.
Yeah, it was by the coffee tent.
Oh, I also didn't go to the coffee tent, so that might be
okay. Yeah, if that was the so there was a couple of yurts there, and I think those are the folks that put them together. So
yeah, I was really looking forward to seeing some of the primitive stuff, and then I got caught up in talking to people.
Yeah,
me too.
Who would have thought Heidi's a talker?
So I think, if I'm not mistaken, probably everyone who was there this year will come back. I don't know anyone who isn't planning on coming back. So there's you got to plan ahead. The things you missed this year, go to those first. I think that's always you kind of have to adjust your schedule and kind of focus.
That's a bit back and forth for me though, because I know I didn't get really to see anything, because also like Heidi, I just got caught up talking to people. But I don't feel like I missed out on anything, because like that's a brilliant experience just to spend the entire weekend just talking to people, meeting new people, and like forcing Norwegian chocolate on folks. It was great fun.
Yes, thank you very much. Those were good.
Those are very good.
I had Luke, who was working at the Lincoln Electric tent, like messaged me a couple of days afterwards, like, we found them, we ordered them, they're on their way to us now.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Is it the quick lunch?
No, that was the Smash.
Yeah. Did they even let you on the plane with that?
Apparently. It was not an issue going back home. They really wanted me to leave, but
yeah.
We'll keep that for the after show, don't forget. Yeah, the TSA story.
That's right.
Yeah.
We'll save those. But I mean, I was stuck in the tent, stuck in there, but doing the thing I wanted to do. So that was great. But I met a million people, and I think that it really helps. That activity is is super quiet. So everybody, so many people were meeting each other while they were doing the activity, and and I was able to meet a bunch of people that way. So that's also a benefit of being a demonstrator, is that
they come to you.
You stay in one place, and everybody comes there to talk to you. Yeah.
I also kind of had the benefit, or consciously doing the thing of when I was going off to eat, I would always end up just going over by myself, because food and me wouldn't surprise anyone. But my only goal was like, let me just see if I can find a table where I only know one person and sit down there and just talk to people. And that's also a lot of interesting things. What
I kind of want to make a joke about that, but that's actually really good.
What kind of jokes are you going to make about that?
Yeah,
I'm working on it.
It was a buffet. I could pick as much food as I wanted to. There's no problems here.
No. That's the one thing they don't run out of is food.
Yeah.
I mean,
and nothing was
very American.
Like,
it was
overpriced. Like I was a little nervous going up to a resort. Like what's going to be ridiculous, and like everything was affordable. Even when Rasmus and I went and ate in what were they doing, like Oktoberfest?
In the bar.
Oh yeah.
On Saturday, to get out of the rain, we sat at the bar and had some food, and it was like reasonably priced.
I mean, everything was just good.
Are American portion sizes just about enough for a single meal for you, Raz?
Yeah. I think on 2 occasions I actually left some bits of food.
You did with me. You ate most of the tater tot plate, but there was a good portion left.
That was a big plate.
It was probably meant for 4 people.
There we go.
Nobody
told me that, but okay.
I was going to say that makes much more sense now. I was just getting a bit worried there, but that actually makes more sense.
There was also an occasion when was this? I ordered like 2 pizzas, one for a starter and one for dinner, and I left like a slice and a half or something. I was like, that's also enough. That's plenty. I don't recall where that was. I think it was with Zach in Ohio or something before all of the shenanigans. But
right. Those are just different shenanigans.
Oh yeah. Axe-shaped shenanigans.
Right.
Yeah, that looked fun too.
Lots of fun.
I think that's kind of something that's kind of I kind of hinted at the start. Although it's a weekend, Catskill Mountain Maker Camp. Starts on the Friday, finishes on the Sunday, goes, a lot of people there till the Monday, has been mentioned. But there's a lot of things happening beforehand, and it was almost like kind of And also, in some ways, it reminded me a little bit of kind of, you see these kind of sort of, if you remember, like the Smokey and the Bandit films from the sort of 70s and 80s, where there'd be like a group of people kind of aiming for one sort of central point. Looking on the sort of socials, on Instagram, and the stories, you kind of sort of see, there was Raz, it was you and the former Forge guys, kind of going off to Zax, and there were other people that were kind of, particularly who were coming from Europe, or other parts of America, Tanda, biking up from New Mexico, and
that was really cool,
right?
It's this convergence that's happening, and events that are happening along the way, and people meeting up. It's just seemed, it's spectacular and quite heartwarming. Never mind the FOMO side of things.
I suppose it's the flip side for kind of our rest of the world friends who look in on Maker Central. It's that kind of flip side to it, isn't it? It's seeing your friends getting to hang out and things like that. There's that kind of compersion there of like, yes, it's wonderful seeing your friends, but I'd also like to jump in on that hug as well.
I'd like to talk more about Maker Central comparisons in the after show, because I'm respectful of the fact that we do have an after show to do, and it's obviously we're talking in 3 different time zones at the moment. So just very quickly, perhaps what was the one thing maybe that particularly caught your attention at Maker Camp? And Jamie and I will just do whatever's caught our attention this week. Who wants to go first?
One thing that is always a lot of fun is the guys who is doing the iron melt during the Maker Camp, which of course they had a somewhat of a problem during the downpour. Melting iron in rain is kind of tricky, so they were aiming for, I think they were aiming for a pour of 30 pounds, which would be a little bit bigger than last year, but they ended up with 10 from the first initial pour, just because they had to end it early because that got difficult.
Yeah, it can potentially quite a dangerous activity with that amount of water around as well.
Oh yeah. Sadly, I wasn't there to see it, but they are called Smelt Team 6 on Instagram and YouTube, which is well worth a check because they have a couple of videos showing like just the whole process from a few years back, but Instagram is a lot better for things. But it's like they have gotten this thing basically broken down to as good of a science as anyone can do with the primitive tools they bring along to a camp. And I talked to them a little bit, and on average they do 3 to 6, or 3 planned and up to 6 melts a year at the various events.
Wow.
And then they do as many as they can just for fun out in addition to that.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah. So, and they've been doing this for a lot of years now, and it's really fun to talk to them and listen to them and also hear them talk about the experience of like, oh yeah, if we take this iron here that was from this era and epoch or something, and we try to remelt that, it always tends to go a bit badly because it doesn't want to like stick back to itself again after it melts and things like that. And like the angle of the flue, they have to get the air in, the height of the chimney, and just the tempo and how they add charcoal and iron into it. It's just amazing to talk to them.
Yeah.
Okay,
it's one of those things. There's so many variables,
and all of them. It's and there's so many of them that seem so tiny.
Yeah.
But then they are so important over the course of a day or whatever when they do the melt.
Dave, what about you? What particularly grabbed your attention?
There was too many things, so but the one thing was the restoration station where they collected over 200 old hand planes and other tools. I think they had some squares and levels and stuff like that, and so they donated all these tools. And then I think there was probably like 8 or 10 different people who cycled through, and they basically will show you how to take the tools apart, clean it up and restore it and get it back to working order. So, that 200 people left with new appreciation for hand tool woodworking and, a tool that they can get started with.
That's
yeah,
cool.
that looked good. Heidi, what's the standout thing for you? reckon?
One thing that we didn't talk about, the maker swap, was
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
friggin' impressive. So you guys, most of your audience is familiar with the treasure trade that the Fools with Tools team does every year, and that's always fun to like see the posts and the pictures and everything. But they had an entire tent pretty much dedicated to the maker swap, and the amount of master crafted work that was in that tent was just phenomenal. They had a shave horse. Someone did an entire chess set of 3D printed makers with like,
Oh, wow.
With Jimmy as the king and Pat Flap as the queen.
It was awesome.
Amazing.
There were pieces that were hand carved. There were pieces that were done on the CNC. There were pieces that were 3D printed. There was a quilt. There was a mug. There were some other pieces from the other ceramic artists that were there. Yes, you got your knife.
That's the knife I got.
Nice. I got a draw knife, which Ben promptly took as soon as I got home.
Naturally.
It was really, really nice. It was hand forged draw knife with brass coating on the surface. I guess you do that with a brush.
The brass brushed finish that Brett has been doing a lot of.
Yeah, it looked really, really cool. It was wrapped in leather. So Ben was super excited that he got something for all the tedious like stuff he had to do at home while I was gone.
Right.
But that was, I think, some of the things that I heard from years past was that some people just like brought little trinkets, right? They were like, oh, here's, a CNC keychain that I made, or, something. So I wasn't sure what the caliber of the work was going to be in that, but man, I did post videos on my Instagram stories. I'll have to recut that and put it as a reel so you guys can kind of get a sense for some of this. I went like from table all the way to the shelves so you could see everything that was in there. And I mean, there's one thing to like talk with people from our community and know like 90% of these people are really good at some aspect of making. But then to see the proof of it in the pudding,
right,
so to speak, like just it blows you away. Like I sat talking with people that I've never met before and never probably would have thought that they would even want to talk to me, and learned so much about things that they were doing and on a different side of the internet that I wasn't even aware of, and being able to see the handcrafted stuff that they were making at the swap was it was tremendous.
I think it's worth mentioning to that.
Work?
No, so that's what I was going to say. The whole Maker Swap was organized by the guys behind Working Hands podcast.
Yeah.
And I think they might have done it spontaneously or semi-spontaneously last year or something like it. I'm not sure if that was the first year.
The year before. I think it started the year before spontaneously. A little bit more organized last year, but then changed it. They changed it up this year.
Proper now, yeah. But they share a tent with the what was it called? Make for Jesse foundation thing.
Oh, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a part of that was also a absolute book nerd who has a tendency of just buying all the books. So of course I fell in love with him.
Yeah, that's Matt.
Yeah, I don't recall his Instagram thing, but Matt something. But yeah, so he was one of the persons that's like he will buy a lot of books and then he realized like, oh, you love this thing, here's that book. And the other half of the time he will come home and put that book in the bookshelf and he was like, oh, it's already there. Interesting. So like, and he just had boxes and boxes of really like new maker books on everything. And you pay what you wanted, donate it to the foundation.
Nice.
Nice.
Right.
Incredible.
Dangerous, but nice.
Very dangerous.
It was
I had
dangerous
to-
for Rasmus.
I had to keep my weight limit in mind when I was went shopping there.
Oh, that's true.
But
You
also,
could've shipped-
luckily, there was a couple of books that I saw that I already had, so I was
Oh,
saved.
Oh,
on
good.
that as well.
Save those for someone else. Yeah.
And then, of course, I ended up talking
Jamie,
up with him.
to answer your question, I think the basic idea was you turned up with something, you were then given a ticket,
Yes.
and then
Right.
there was a draw, and I think that each object was given a number, and then you were given a number,
So it's kind of like make a
then you
raffle
got-
almost.
and then it was just like a raffle, yeah. And then numbers
Nice.
sort of
Yeah.
pulled out. So very random, no organisation in terms of, oh yeah, if you're
Not
like the
tailored.
Fools and
present.
Tools Treasure Trade, we were going to go right. If you're in Europe and you're sent to Europe, and if you're in the UK but don't want to send outside, and if you're in Australia and you don't want to
Yeah.
send abroad, and
So what I'm
Yeah,
saying
none
is
of
Raz
that.
could have ended up with a shave horse to try and fly
Yeah.
home.
We
With.
could have.
4-foot sign. Yeah.
We could have.
I was
We
kind
all
of
wondered.
nervous.
We all wondered who was going to get that massive shave horse and how they were
Mhm.
going to get it home. Tanda was a little
Right.
nervous.
Mm.
She said she would have just left it at
Not
Jimmy's.
sure.
She could have built a trailer. And just,
It was just to add wheels to it and then clip it onto the back
Yeah,
of the
yeah.
bike.
Yeah, a couple thousand miles. It would have been all right.
yeah.
Sure.
It's like Laura's video where she was like hauling the piece of wood from the store
Oh, yeah.
Sure, yeah.
along the street with those tiny little wheels. It's gonna make it 5 feet.
Yeah.
Jamie, what's been grabbing your attention this week?
I've a little bit of self-care this weekend, actually. Just kind of
good.
actually
Ooh.
taking a breather because it's been pretty relentless for quite a long time. So I've finally finished season 2 of Foundation.
Nice.
Done a little bit of
Oh, wow.
of 3D design stuff and a bit of 3D printing and a bit of just taking it easy.
Tell,
But yeah,
tell me,
Foundation season 2.
tell me what you
amazing.
think of episode 8.
I wasn't as surprised as I think I was expecting to be from you and Red saying it, because I'd kind of had the same inkling.
Yeah.
So it was nice. It was more of a reveal rather than a side swipe, because it was mulling around as the obvious. But I have read the books as well, so
So have I.
read the books years ago.
Yeah.
But it just phenomenally cast, beautifully written.
Yeah.
Amazing acting, and the Bel Rios and his husband, just the cutest, most gorgeous couple ever seen in TV. I think I want to just cuddle them both.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah,
That
wonderful,
was
wonderful TV show.
Heartbreaking stuff.
Yeah, but just their whole arc ever season 2 is just they're just so bloody cute and so well written for it to be to be a gay couple that's there's an age gap and a power dynamic and everything else that's that you don't often see that kind of thing, and it was just there as part and parcel of everything. It wasn't like a light shone on it as, hey, look at these two, it was just kind of integrated.
It was very
as
much
part of the
played
story.
as this is normal for us. Like this is the world we live in, where this is normal.
Absolutely glorious to see that.
Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful TV shows. I would highly recommend everyone watch it.
What's it called?
Foundation.
Foundation. Okay.
Based
Yeah,
upon
I
a
looked
book
it up.
by Isaac Asimov.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah,
So
I
Should-
couldn't
do I
read
need to
the
read the-
books, so.
Do I need to read the books, or am I going to be okay watching this? Okay.
You
You'd be
will
absolutely okay watching it. Yeah.
Yeah.
the series does it very well justice, I feel.
It's a really, really interesting premise for the whole story. It's kind of sci-fi-ish, but it is just very, very interesting take on reality.
Awesome.
It's very cool. How about you, Andy?
Cool. Well, this week I discovered by accident a maker called, and I'm going to butcher this name, and I apologize now for the link will be, it's not there currently, but it'll be there tomorrow in the show notes. And Alexander Haritsai, a carver, wood carver, generally making things out of wood, generally making helmets from fantasy and sci-fi,
Ooh,
and
yeah,
they are phenomenal. Absolutely
really are.
phenomenal. He's got far too few followers on Instagram and on YouTube. I don't know if he's also I'm not on TikTok. I don't know if he's on TikTok and he's bigger there, but considering the quality of what he's producing, the skill that he has, it's mind-blowing how good his stuff is. And he should have, he should be one of these sort of makers with 30, 40,000 followers. It's
definitely
just
an extra 0 or 2 on his follower count.
Yeah, it really is. It's next level. It's next level making, next level carving. Absolutely. So yeah, definitely that's a thing to check out. So link will be in the show notes tomorrow. Yeah. Right. Well, we're gonna pop over to the after show now and find out a bit more about this TSA incident. For those who are interested in finding the after show, obviously it's patreon.com/makerswaffle. Best place to find it and get the extra audio, which is normally about the slightly shorter or sometimes even slightly longer than the main show. So
it's a podcast 2-ish.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. We did a total up of the number of hours of recording this last week. I'll share that.
Andy, you did a total up of how many days we've recorded.
yeah. But I'll share that in the after show. Yeah, how many? If you've listened to the whole lot, including the after shows,
it's bordering on weeks of recording.
Oh Lord!
Okay. So here's a bet though. Have you more hours recorded than total than I have listened to podcasts in the last year?
I thought he was going to say week.
Well, we can make it interesting. Is it more than what I listened to in the last 2 weeks then? Because
it doesn't
3
count
weeks
if you've
because
listened to us as well.
Yeah,
I was gonna
remember
say,
he listens at triple speed. So
we'll see.
Yeah, so I mean, everyone, you three have been on. So thank you, Heidi Whitehall Pottery, Dave Barrard, and Rasmus Loan from Everything Rasmus Loan, for coming on talking about Maker Camp. I was just about to say Maker Central then, but no, Maker Camp.
Same initials.
And that I was writing something down earlier. I thought I can't write MC for this because it doesn't quite work.
It's very silly that.
Yes.
Yeah. So we will see everyone else next week, and patrons will be able to listen tomorrow to what's going on. So, bye, folks.
Bye.
Cheers.